All right, what's become a stellar feature of our Tuesday mornings, of course, is Alec Avierinos, Almighty Warrior. And now for many a month, we've been talking about how to be better, how to live closer to the call that God has on your life. And we've touched on three basic themes, of course, your exercise, your physical health, your nutrition, and your emotional health, together with that as well, and then your spiritual health. And all three of these are so important. Today, we're continuing on that conversation. The theme of today's show is winning the battle. Alec joins me again. Alec, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks, Willbert. It's a pleasure to be here with you again.
Good to have you back. I don't know if this is completely off topic, by the way, but coming out of last week's conversation, which we had, which I thought was really, really nice, about is a victorious life possible? And I was mulling through this, and I saw something through the week which made me think about it, because I think often, victory seems elusive to us because we only see one prize. If you think about the Olympics, I don't think anybody here, well, maybe you, but definitely not me, is going to try to go win any Olympic gold medals right now, because I feel like that spot is taken already. It's like there's somebody better, there's somebody training harder, there's somebody younger. It's not worth competing for me anymore. And so we just don't do anything. But that's not the victory that we're talking about here, because it's a very much a personal victory, right?
Absolutely. And it's a personal race. The Bible's very specific about running your race to claim your prize. And I think that's what makes it unique, is that you're not there to compete and compare yourself and your performance against somebody else's. You're there to live out your life in victory, and it's your race and your prize, and it's the Lord that needs to say, "Well done, my good and faithful servant," to you for what you've done.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
got nothing to do with me or you or anybody else.
Yeah, but drawing a conclusion from sport, I know that especially here in Pretoria, there's a lot of CrossFit boxes. You've mentioned CrossFit a little bit before as well.
Yeah.
I like watching it and following it and know a little bit about it. But they've just recently had what's called the CrossFit Games, which is basically the Olympics of CrossFit, the finals, the world champs. And a young guy called Justin Medeiros this year won it out.
Yeah.
And one of the social media pages posted this incredible statistic after the event. They write this: consistency is key. Justin Medeiros wins CrossFit Games, winning only one event out of 15. There were 15 events, of which he placed first in only one, yet won the competition. He placed first at an average placing of 6th. In other words, he averaged out a 6th place, if you look at all the events.
Yes.
But that was enough for him to get the win. And I thought that speaks so well to me about what I was reasoning to myself about last week, that many things in life is the same. That often when we feel like we've achieved a 6th, nobody walks away smiling.
Yeah.
But you might just be winning. And consistency is that. It's not that you have to win a gold today. You don't have to eat perfect. You don't have to run a marathon.
No.
You can place 6th, mentally.
Yes.
But still win.
Yeah, it's being consistent. And that's what we've mentioned before. If 85% of the time you are exercising more than the minimum requirement and you are eating correctly 85% of the time, then it doesn't matter if the remainder of the time you back off from what's perfect. And the Lord doesn't expect perfection from us. I thoroughly enjoyed watching the CrossFit Games. Justin is the youngest ever to win at 22 years old, which is phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal. But I also really enjoyed watching the women, because you had Annie Thorisdottir, who came in and eventually ended up 3rd. She wasn't even planning on participating because she's had a baby, she's had other complications in her life. And I just enjoyed watching her surprise herself with her achievements and her abilities, and that was awesome. And then you had Claire Toomey, who didn't even have to participate in the last 3 or 4 events and would have still won it. She won just about every event over the course of the days, and she gave it her all every single time. So it was, to me, it was like really emotional. You can, it was really special to see these phenomenal athletes. And like you say, there's so many different stories in each one's life that played out over the course of the games. And just what awesome people are involved. So, I mean, I listened to the organizers saying that over an hour after the games were over, how he wandered into the preparation area and found one of the athletes cleaning and tidying and picking up refuse. And it was, so awesome people and living out to the best of their ability, and what their bodies are capable of doing is just phenomenal.
It is phenomenal, and it's a great thing to go and watch to get yourself off the couch, because I'll tell you, it's very tough to watch them perform like that and remain seated. It's very, very difficult. But I think, one thing from that we can carry into today's conversation about winning the battle is that, therefore, first you have to identify the battle. The battle is not to win. The battle's not to finish first. And that's where a lot of people lose the fight, because they're fighting, a losing battle.
Yes.
But there is another battle. The real battle comes from our spiritual insight. We know something, especially as Christians, that the true battle lies in the spiritual side.
Yeah, you've got this continual battle, and that's what we're talking about today, between lust and love. Lust of the flesh and a love which is born out of the Spirit and comes from the Lord. And we are in this continual battle, and the particular relevance today revolves around gluttony and sloth. And we are faced with choices on a daily basis, and it's real, and it's real to all of us, regardless of who you're at. And you can't take your foot off the gas. You've got to do this on a daily basis. So, over the last week or two, I've been a little bit slack myself personally, and in my nutrition and in my exercise, and I can see the difference in 2 weeks. I've put on weight again, and so my goals and my aspirations haven't changed, but I've just been a bit slack, and you get reminded that we need to pick up our cross on a daily basis.
I just want to hammer in on that, Alec. I know you've got some incredible notes. I don't want to steer too far. If you can pull me back in, but I think you've really hit something here, because as Christians often, I'm a pastor in a congregation, deal with a lot of people. Often as Christians, we can fall trap more than the world to the idea of taking our foot off the gas. It's almost as if we don't have this expectation that God has placed this responsibility on us to pick up our cross daily. And if you look at the language of the Bible and of the call of God, the excellence that He's created us with, He has made us creative. He's made us competitive even. He's made us to push. I think of verses like when God says to Jeremiah, if you grow tired running with men, how will you run with horses? There's a lot to be said about that, but you can't remove the expectation that God is calling him to run with horses. God is expecting of him something that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
Like, we can almost go to God and say, why are you expecting of me to run with horses? This is totally unreasonable.
Yeah, I just want to pick up on that, because there's a race in the States. It's an ultra marathon that was originally a run. It's 100-miler, which is 160 kilometers. So it's 2 back-to-back comrades marathons that's done on horseback. Yeah. And this guy pitched up to the race without a horse. And he ran it.
He still did it?
He did it.
Oh,
and that was the birth of the whole ultra marathon, and getting into it was And it's actually incredible to see that we are actually better in ultra endurance sports than animals like horses. So yeah.
Yeah, human potential testifies of the glory of God. You know, you look at the CrossFit Games. I know that's not maybe the way they see it, or viewers see it, or some of the athletes see it. But what I see is what God has made, the potential that God has created. Isaiah, God reminds us, they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall rise up like those on wings of eagles. You don't need to be raised up on wings of eagles if you're not tired, if you're not working, if you don't have, like you said earlier, your foot on the pedal.
Yeah.
You're not at your edge.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing that hampers your nutrition and your exercise routines is boredom. And as soon as you get bored with a routine, you back off. So you have to keep it exciting and fresh, and you have to push your limits. If you're pushing your limits even just a little bit more on a continual basis, the improvement that you will get over time is phenomenal.
I've distracted enough from your great notes, because the notes, by the way, will be available to everybody as well online. You can go to almightywarrior.me afterwards, and the notes are available. This conversation also streamed, of course, on Facebook. You can join us there. It will be available afterwards if you want to share it with somebody. Alec, let's get back to the notes. Let's talk about this battle and some of the scriptures around that.
Yeah. So if we start and we wanting to get perspective, then you can look at, for example, Matthew 26 verse 41, and there it's all about setting forth and setting out the battle that is raging between the flesh and the spirit. And then in Galatians, it says there clearly, for he who sows to his own flesh lower sensual nature will from the flesh reap decay, ruin, and destruction. But he who sows to the Spirit will reap eternal life. And the whole concept is getting your spirit to be in control of your carnal nature and your flesh, where the desires there are tending towards gluttony and sloth. It is easy to fall into that. And interestingly enough, they've done studies now, just for interest's sake, in the UK over the last 25 years, that 88% of the population don't do the minimum amount of exercise required to have a positive impact on their physical well-being. So let's just say we're South Africans and we're better than the English. What percentage are we better?
Yeah.
So the majority of people are not doing the minimum that's required. And I sort of want to pick up on this. I listened to a really interesting TED talk where this guy actually, he's a personal trainer, and he realized that people are coming to gym and to exercise as a form of self-punishment to earn back their grace, because they are falling into the gluttony and sloth. And let's just do those two definitions. Gluttony, overindulgence and overconsumption. Really straightforward. And there you can read about it in Proverbs 23:21. And sloth is just pure being lazy, sedentary, a disinclination to exertion. And there you can read about it in Proverbs 24, verses 33 and 34. And then to pick up on where this is going is it's your expectations. So stress comes about through unmet expectations. So when your reality and your expectations are not aligned, so your spirit is pulling you in one direction, your flesh is pulling you in another direction, you are under stress, and you are creating that stressful environment for yourself, and that is very detrimental to our health.
I think this is it's a good two parallels to put together: gluttony in the one hand, and then being completely sedentary, slothful on the other. Because again, it speaks about this continuous theme that we're talking about, which is consistency. Because these two things are extremes. It's overindulgence of the one, things that we shouldn't be overindulging in, and it's underindulgence in what we should be indulging in, because that's what makes us slothful or sedentary, And it's about finding that consistent middle ground. But you've touched now on what's hindering that, and it's this inward stress on the one hand, and then also guilt, which I think is important to talk about as well, and accepting that grace and understanding that you're not doing this out of burden.
Correct.
You're doing this out of freedom.
Yes. So last week we touched on the fact that biologically, if you eat correctly, it upregulates your emotions. If you exercise, it upregulates your emotions. If you have a clear passion and purpose, it upregulates your emotions. So you've got all the tools necessary that have been given to you and built into you by the Lord when He created you, in order for you to live out and meet your purpose and your passion here on earth. And if we take action and we do what the Bible is suggesting to us is the right thing to do, then we end up in this upward spiral that's very positive. But if we don't, then we end up in a negative spiral. And if you're not eating correctly and you're not exercising, you're not upregulating your emotions, it has a negative impact on your thoughts, and you end up in a downward spiral, and things get worse, not better.
Yeah, and I think you've mentioned one sentence that stood out to me again there. It's when we were created, and it's this old cliche image. Every pastor's preached on it. That it's this seed, and everything that becomes the apple tree is really within that seed. Yes, there's some water and ground and external elements. We have that too in this analogy. In life. There are external things that help us. But it's not about making the external factors into a tree. The water doesn't turn into a tree. The ground doesn't turn into a tree. It's that seed. It's the potential.
Yes.
And this really is about unlocking your God-given potential. And if you can grasp that, if that can really become a revelation to you, that also removes the burden, because you realize, I don't have to go look for a talent or a skill or find something from outside. I've just got to unlock what God has already left inside of me. It's already there.
Yes, and last week we touched on that formula that Angela Duckworth has sort of coined, and there we're talking about skill. So your talent multiplied by effort produces a skill, but the skill on its own is useless if you don't multiply that in turn by effort. And that helps you to achieve the outcome. So even in the secular world, they are saying that it takes effort, and it takes twice as much effort as your talent, to actually get the outcome that you want to actually achieve. So your passion and your purpose is unique to you, and your skills and your ability are unique to you. But it's up to you to put the effort in that's required to unlock and to achieve.
Well, this is key, though, because, Alec, a lot of people, you've just mentioned, it takes twice as much effort. It's more the effort than it is the talent that ultimately produces the skill. It's more the effort than the skill even that produces. And this is good news. A lot of people find this, it could feel, okay, so it's going to be a lot of work. But that means you have control over it. Because you don't have control over the initial talent or the initial skill, which is the, life-old lesson of teenagers. At school you think it's all about talent, and the older I get, the more I realize, talent doesn't matter. It's about the effort.
You've been given the freedom of choice, and that is what's actually at play here. So you have to make a series of choices, and you make good decisions, you reap the rewards. You make bad decisions, you're also going to reap the the rewards. They're just negative. So the Bible speaks specifically about you've been given the freedom to choose, and the choices are yours to make, and you should be fueling your body for purpose. So your food isn't there to tantalize your taste buds and to eat all sorts of fancy foods that are actually not of no nutritional value to you. Food is there as a source of fuel, and it's to fuel you to achieve your purpose. And the same with exercise. So you get to design the outcome. So you can decide through your nutrition and exercise whether you end up as a ballerina or as a power lifter, and so you've been gifted that, and the choices are yours.
Yeah. The fact that effort is such a big part means it's an opportunity for each one of us to say that we have control over that. You have the freedom to put in that effort. We sometimes lose heart, though. That's why we don't do effort. But Galatians 6 verse 9, I know that's one of the verses that you have there. It reminds us that, yes, there will be dips. I mean, you've mentioned it. I mean, you're an elite athlete on a world stage, and you've had a tough 2 weeks. But it's just about this. It's about, shaking your head and getting back into it and getting encouragement from the Word.
Yeah, and it's never too late. And you need not beat yourself up, because you can't earn grace. So I don't, I'm not now in the naughty corner. The Lord still loves me as much today as He did 2 weeks ago before I was slack. So we need to appreciate that, and we need to appreciate that our nutrition and our exercise is not there as punishment. It's there. It's a very interesting thing, because the Spirit unlocks the potential in your body, and when you get your spirit, your body, and your and mind all pulling in the same direction, then we get to the point where you start living out Christ to those around you. And you can, if for example, fasting, we've spoken about in detail. It's a brilliant tool, not only for nutritional benefit, but to actually get your body and subject it to the will of your spirit, and to win that internal battle that we face on a daily basis. And that's what we are continually called to do.
Well, for the listeners that obviously don't have a glimpse into the studio, Alec comes in here every week, just planned, prepared, notes all in a row, and I just shift them all around. So I'll give you a moment, Alec, to just figure out what is still left that you have to say as we start to wrap up the conversation. But I want to remind the listeners of Galatians 6:9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Know this, that you will reap a harvest if you do not give up. Just don't give up.
Yeah, that's important. That really is important. And if we look at the implementing a few choice daily habits, and the key is to make things into habits, because you can't always feel motivated to do exercise or to eat correctly. But if you change your habits, then you can instill good practices that will, over time, through consistency, bear fruit. And once we see that, and we see the changes, then we can get excited about it, and we can stick with it for the long term.
Absolutely. I know, as always, you have some practical conclusions as well to the theme. Today, we're talking about that battle. You can win the battle. There is a battle between the lust of the flesh and the spirit, and it's in everybody. That should also take away all your guilt, because it's the same for Alec. It's the same for me. It's the same for you. We have to fight the lust of the flesh. We have to fight gluttony. We have to fight being slothful. But that battle can be won. It can be won. You have some practical tips, Alec?
Yeah. Practically, on the spiritual side, it's really, the key is understanding who you are in Christ, and finding those biblical affirmations that are there that apply specifically to you. So you need to instill a daily quiet time for Bible study and prayer, and then whatever the knowledge that you've acquired, you need to apply it for it to become wisdom. And that you need to do on a daily basis. And the same on nutrition, small things. We've talked about what you eat, when you eat, how much you eat. And those are the 3 controlling levers. But simple: cut sugar, drink more water, eat nutritious whole foods, increase your protein, decrease your complex carbohydrates. And fasting will give you the ability to improve even a bad diet. The instill the habit and then improve it over time. Don't make things so difficult to attain that you don't even want to attempt them. And then on the exercise side, we've said it so many times. It's just start. Anything is better than nothing. Focus on your cardio and strength. So go out, go for a walk. We can tell you how not to overcook it, but we'll do that another day. And then just avoid boredom. Try something new and keep pushing your boundaries. And then just the last couple of tips: it's never too late to start. You're not in this alone. And the Bible is full of the right encouragement and advice on how to achieve things. And then God doesn't expect perfection from us. He does want you to go on a journey with Him, and it is a journey of improving over time, and He wants a return on His investment that He's made in you. So Jesus died for you so that you can have a life, and a victorious life, and live it to bring glory to Him in all that you do.
Yeah. Life and life in abundance. Alec Avierinos joined me again today, Almighty Warriors. I'm going to give you all the details. Get in touch with Alec, by the way. Go to the website, almightywarrior.me. Get in touch with them. Go and see the show notes. Share this conversation as well with others. And we'll do so again next week, Tuesday. Thanks so much, Alec.
Pleasure. Thanks, Willbert.